Well, Liberal demonstrators have been busy lining up in Wisconsin to make a scene and protest against JD Vance. Now, the Vice President was there to highlight the impact of Trump's big, beautiful bill on the manufacturing sector. But these Liberals who turned out with their signs were forced to run to the other side of the road just so they could get their message out. Let's take a look. Alex, some of them are struggling to make it there. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, JD Vance, he pulled a very crafty maneuver by going on the other side of the street, but it looks like he is the front runner for the nominee in 2028. So he might as well just get used to the crazy protesters. I mean, I go to these protests all the time and you see all those Ukraine flags and pride flags. There's nothing to be scared of, Vice President Vance. You can just go by them. You can wave. You know, a lot of them don't have enough testosterone to even be threatening whatsoever. They literally just pumped up with so much estrogen. I don't even know how they're alive, to be honest, a lot of the times when I'm at these protests. So, with all due respect, Vice President, great move, but you don't need to be scared of these soy boys. They can't hurt you. I promise you that.
Yeah, it's just hilarious watching them run with their signs. It's just ridiculous. And I'm sure these are the type of people who were, rushing out the door to go and get the COVID vaccine and still running to get their boosters and yelling at you for not wearing a mask properly. But it's interesting because Donald Trump is now demanding that drug companies make their data on the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccines available to the public, saying that the debate over whether the jab actually saved lives has ripped apart the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. He wrote, "It's very important that the drug companies justify the success of various COVID drugs. Many people think that they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree, with CDC being ripped apart over this question. I want the answer and I want it now. I've been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they never seem to show those results to the public. Why not?" And he went on to say, "I hope that Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say that it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter." Look, let's just take a look at how CNN covered the vaccine rollout.
We do have some breaking news. Drug maker Pfizer just announcing the results of its vaccine trial for adolescents. It says its coronavirus shot was 100% effective at preventing infection and sickness among 12 to 15-year-olds. This could be a major game changer for reopening schools across America.
100%. So that was back in 2021. It's interesting hearing this message from Donald Trump, though. He rarely speaks about the pandemic. And a recent Kaiser Family Foundation poll found only 30% of Republicans view the COVID jab as safe. Of course, 87% of Democrats believe that it is. Alex, what are your thoughts on what the president has had to say?
Well, I'm excited because Donald Trump, he was the architect of Operation Warp Speed. And for just calling balls and strikes, obviously, the vaccine was not as dangerous as a conspiracy theorist said, but it was also not as safe as the mainstream media said. So we need this information to find out where in the middle that this COVID vaccine falls. Because, listen, probably a lot of people did get protection from it, but also a lot of young people got myocarditis. So we need to know how effective this vaccine that had no long-term testing was on the American people and the people of the world, for that matter. And if you look at how this vaccine got approved, it was through emergency use authorization. And the only way they were able to get that is if they didn't have any other remedies for COVID. So it basically, it 86 any other remedies, and it made it so Big Pharma could make endless amounts of money by giving us a free vaccine that may have helped or it may not have helped. And right now we're at an inflection point where we can figure out what the truth was behind it. So I love this from Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump can actually fix his legacy if he can kind of find out, what were we really taking? Was it really as effective? And did people get hurt? Obviously some, but did as many people get hurt as a conspiracy theorist said? No way.
Look, I want to talk to you about what happened in Minneapolis. Families, no doubt, still feeling the heartbreak after this insane trans shooter killed 3 children and left more than a dozen injured at a Catholic school. And it doesn't get any more horrific than that. The media's coverage has been pretty awful. We've heard from Jen Psaki, who was quick to worry about the narrative around trans people and leaped to their defence. Other outlets have been focusing on getting the shooter's pronouns right. Others have dismissed the thoughts and prayers coming from leaders and dismissing the power of prayer at a time like this. And then you've also heard from people like Rosie O'Donnell declaring that the shooter was a MAGA person. Listen to this.
What do you know? Was a white guy, Republican, MAGA person. What do you know?
Rosie O'Donnell has apologised and admitted that she got it wrong. But as we know, of course, the shooter had a manifesto, had written about killing Donald Trump. He's written anti-Semitic comments before. I mean, hearing messages like this at a time of such tragedy, I just think it's pretty sick.
I agree. I mean, it is incredibly sick. And if you look at Rosie O'Donnell's face, it looks like she has a couple sicknesses going on. But, you know, in reality, when you look at this horrible tragedy, I hate that it gets politicized on both sides. I would say that the Democrats are probably using it much more as a political tool to try to stop, gun violence by taking away our guns. And the right, people are going after the fact that this person was mentally ill and probably had gender dysphoria and was seriously confused. And, I think the argument is how much responsibility is put upon their parents. But at the same time, Robert or Robin Westman, whatever the media wants to call him, was an adult. So I don't know how much responsibility falls on his parents, but I do know that this was a mentally ill person that was probably on a lot of psychotropic drugs. And that's, I think, the issue that comes down to this is we have so many people that are on antidepressants that are unnecessarily prescribed or prescribed the wrong medication for that matter.
Sure.
And it just increases the idea of suicide and things like this are going to be much more prevalent in a society that's constantly over medicated.